For the past 5 seasons now, the Los Angeles Clippers have been one of the more hyped up teams going into seasons, and they've pretty much failed miserably and came up short every single year, due to really just unfortunate situations, such as poorly timed injuries to their key guys in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and their only deep playoff run during this time period really came in 2021 when they made the Western Conference Finals and lost to the Phoenix Suns, and even then that loss came without Kawhi because he had gotten injured in the round prior, and that was the furthest it ever got for the Clippers. That was the furthest they've actually gotten in their franchise history. And they decided after this past season that it was time. They finally ended the Kawhi and PG era this past offseason when Paul George decided to go get that bag and sign with the Philadelphia 76ers, leaving the Clippers to go out there and waste the money on actually solid contributors to this team, such as Derrick Jones Jr., who was on the Mavericks last season and had a really good year, Nicholas Batum, who was pretty solid on the Sixers the year prior, Chris Dunn, Kevin Porter Jr., Mo Bamba, and Kai Jones. And I lowered expectations for the Clippers, kind of just having them in that play-in tournament range, especially with Kawhi being out to start the season. But so far, I won't lie, they have been one of the more surprising teams in the NBA to start the season. For one, this Clipper team has been near elite on the defensive end of the floor, which makes sense considering the additions that I mentioned that they made earlier. The Clippers right now rank 4th in opponent points per game and 6th in defensive rating. And right now they just have a plethora of wings that can guard, and they have Chris Dunn, who is one of the best defenders in the entire league. And mind you, when I mentioned that they have a plethora of wings, they are missing one of the greatest wing defenders of all time in Kawhi Leonard. Now, yes, we don't know if he's the same level defender that he used to be, but obviously it's a plus to have him on that end of the floor. And their defense as a whole is just the main contributor as to why they've been one of the better and quite surprising teams in the entire league. Now, on the flip side, on the offensive end, the Clippers really aren't that good, with the fact that they're ranked in the bottom 10 of the league in the top offensive categories. But one thing I will say is they do have individual players who are having solid to really good seasons. Starting off with James Harden, who's not quite the same player he used to be in Houston. He's getting older, but he still proves to be someone that can run the show at a high level. And he's kind of just become like this new kind of player, like he's changed who he was. And I kind of like it. I mean, yes, his efficiency as a whole has went down a lot. Like, his efficiency is pretty bad. But he is averaging 22, 7, and 9. And his game is a little more opened up. He takes a little more mid-range shots now. He gets to the rim. He can hit you with the step-back three. His game is a little more balanced, and he kind of plays like more of a point guard now than he ever did. And it's kind of nice. Not saying that he wasn't great when he was in Houston, because obviously he was one of the greatest scorers of all time and a great playmaker, but I like his role as his game has aged, and if he can bring that efficiency up, I mean, it'd be a really nice season for him as a whole. As for Zubac, who is having, I think, a great season, he's averaging a double-double with 15 points and 12 rebounds on 60% shooting. And they're also getting good shooting seasons from other guys that they have either signed or they had on the roster in years prior, and Derrick Jones and Amir Coffey, who are shooting really well right now, especially from three. But by far the most impressive player on this team has been Norman Powell. Norman Powell right now, I mean, we could literally make a whole video just about how great he's been to start the season. He is having a career year. He's averaging nearly 24 points per game on elite efficiency, 49% from the field, 49% from three. And he has to be the early favorite for most improved player, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong, but he's been that good. And it's funny because he had his thoughts about Paul George leaving in the offseason about basically getting more opportunity, and he has showed up big time. He has taken advantage of the situation because right now he's an elite scorer. And I know we kind of knew that he could do this because in years prior with the Clippers, he's always been like a spark plug off the bench, and in Toronto and Portland, he's also been in this kind of role. But he has taken more usage. He has taken that responsibility and he has ran with it to start the season. And I think without him, they're obviously not even close to the same team that they are because he's been that good. And I think the Clippers can definitely just become an interesting team, especially once Kawhi comes back. And once like the trade deadline appears later on in the season, you never know what they can do. You never know if they go out there and they make a move and they try to really push for it, because obviously things are hard in the Western Conference and it's never going to be easy with the amount of young teams and the teams that are just floating around in the play-in range, all kind of fighting for positioning. And I think it's going to be like that for pretty much the entire season. So the Clippers are going to have to do some things to kind of just stay in the mix. But right now, I mean, things are in a positive direction. And if they want to keep it pushing, Kawhi is going to have to be there consistently when he comes back, because obviously he is one of the best players in the league when he is healthy and when he's got it going. And I think it's just quite impressive that they've started off 13-9 despite a fairly rough schedule to open up their season. I'm really impressed with the job that Ty Lue and the Clippers have done, because coming into the season, I looked at them as a playing team, and they are ranked right now 7th in the Western Conference, which is a playing team, but I thought without Kawhi it'd be a struggle, and then they'd like work their way up. So for them to be where they are right now, I think is really nice to see if you're a Clippers fan, because the expectations weren't high, and so far they're surpassing them with great ease. Anyways, that's going to do it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to check out my previous video on Jalen Johnson, who is having a great season for the Atlanta Hawks and is one of the more underrated young stars in the game. This has been a checkup, and I'll see ya in the next video. Peace.